Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Phil Trager. We're going to be discussing his amazing book, God Intertwined with Basketball. Available for purchase through Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, but people, listen. If you want to gather everything that Phil has in store, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal site. And that's invisible-diamond.com. So that's traditional spelling of invisible-diamond.com. There you'll find more information on Phil, more information on his fantastic narrative, as well as find the hyperlink set up to take you to the purchasing page. So one more time, that's invisible-diamond.com. Phil was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best publishers in the business, Far Eastern Media, Ltd. So if you or anybody you know have a book that they'd like moved, well, do yourself the best favor you could possibly do and contact Far Eastern to move it for you. You can find out more information on them at fareasternltd.com. Phil, first and foremost, man, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest with us today. How you doing, man?
Thank you, sir. You're welcome, and it's great to be here.
Absolutely.
You're doing well and looking forward to this.
Likewise. Phil, listen, the pleasure is all ours, man, and we have absolutely been looking forward to this as well, and I think the words of wisdom that you're going to be able to relay to us, not only within this short interview, but within the confines of the book. I'm telling you, people, at the end of the interview, you're gonna run on over to Amazon and Barnes & Noble or invisible-diamond.com and purchase the book, because it is that fantastic, the information that's being discussed. Now, Phil, before we go into your book, I want to hold off slightly. Start by telling our listening audience a little bit more about yourself and your background, please.
One of the things I really enjoy is learning, and I invented a concept called insight learning. And insight learning has an invisible scriptural basis that says, where two or more are gathered, there the Lord will be in their midst. And so, as a coach and as a religionist, if I tell you, if I'm coaching and you're my student, and I tell you that a right-handed layup is shot off your left foot with your right hand, the first thing I do is ask you to tell that back to me. And can you please do that? Mm-hmm. A right-handed layup is shot off your left foot with your right hand. And you can tell that back to me, correct?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You go off your left leg and set the ball off with your right hand. The beauty of this is I know that concept is in your mind now. It's your concept. Mm-hmm. So when you go to the basketball court, you can practice the right-handed layup as many times as you want, because it's in your mind, which is going to train your muscles in your legs. So the value of insight learning is to make sure the concept gets in your mind, and it's also given. It's given very respectfully. It's given informationally, and you have the freedom to become as good or as not as good, whatever you want to do with it, it's yours. Mm-hmm. So insight learning then gives the information which respects the person learning. When you give it back to me, that validates me. I realize I've been heard, and I know you've been heard and can take it the way you need to be. One final comment on this, too. When you can speak something naturally, that's a pretty good sign that it's been learned, that it's inculcated in your mind and part of your brain. Once it's there, you can do with whatever you want with it, you know. So my appreciation for learning is a very large part of my background. Along the same line, I invented something called a learning chart within the book. Every third page in the book, you turn to the learning chart and write down the favorite thing you read or the least favorite thing you read or something you might want to remember. So a learning chart then becomes part of the exercise of the book. You can see how it emphasizes learning and my appreciation for learning in the background. The learning chart then is everything you enter in the learning chart is designed to tell me that you're valuable. What you feel is valuable, whether it be positive, negative, or just something you want to remember. And along the lines of value, there's a scoreboard at the end of the book, and every entry you do to the learning chart is a 3-point shot. So we start counting points, and every one you put on the learning chart is a 3-point shot to be entered at the end of the book in the scoreboard. So that's my basic background in terms of learning. Insight learning and the learning chart. Those are two positive things that I hope give value to the reader. The reader feels special and appreciated. And that's my goal. And in insight learning, both the coach and the player are validated, which is also a very wonderful experience in the name of the Lord. Another aspect of my background, I was one of those kids who used to dribble the ball to school and walk home dribbling the ball, and school was a mile away. I would dribble a mile to school and dribble home. And even now I enjoy basketball so much. When I do my morning walk, I'm 73 years old, but when I do my morning walk, I lift my arms as though I'm shooting a basketball. And the reason is, when you get older, it's a little harder to get your arms up in the air, and it also affects your breathing. But I work on it almost every morning when I take my walk to go along with the time I spend on the court. So I like learning. I enjoy basketball. And religiously, when I was in high school, we had a pastor who saw us as very capable people. Mm-hmm. He taught us to question everything and search for truth. And so those are the three basic aspects of my background that affected this book and the creation of this book. One of the truths that we found, of course, is that there is value within invisibility. And this might lead into your next question.
Phil, thank you so much, man, for all of the information that you've relayed so far. And as I'm listening to you speak, I'm walking down memory lane now, right? And you're talking about your walks that you would take to and from school and how you dribbled a basketball along the way. And I remember when I was in high school, I would carry around tennis balls with me all the time. And as I was walking, my high school was very big. So as I was walking from class to class, I would actually dribble a tennis ball through the hallway, right? And kind of intertwine in between students and everything. And I absolutely loved it. It was such a great lesson to really increase my dribbling ability, right? And it was fantastic. Phil, next question that I want to go into, I got to know about the title, man. I got to know about the title. We'll cover inspiration in a second, but God intertwined with basketball. I think it's so creative what you're doing here, and I think it's safe to assume, based upon, the concept of invisibility, right? And what we've already discussed. But Phil, you know what happens when you assume, so I'm not going to do that to you. I have you here on the line. I'm going to come right out and ask. Talk to us about that title for the book and why you chose that to be the representation for it. And really, what are you saying? What's the connection, the correlation between God and basketball?
That's a good question, and I'll draw out two of the most obvious areas there intertwined. Above the rim on a basketball court, there's an invisible area, and if you put the ball there, you make every shot. That tells you that there's value within invisibility. Well, God is also a value within invisibility. And when you see how valuable the invisible diamond is to basketball, there's not a doubt in your mind that there's value with invisibility. Following that, what that also says is when you connect to the essence of something, which is basketball, the essence of basketball is making baskets. Mm-hmm. When you connect with the essence of basketball, there's joy. There's joy in the swish. Similarly, when you connect with the essence of life, which is God's love, there is joy. So those two obvious ways are how God is intertwined with basketball. Now let me take this one step further. You heard the notion of do what you're told.
Yep.
Well, that's an oversimplification of the biblical concept of the blessings of obedience. God's love is really in telling us what to do. When a coach tells the story of the invisible diamond, kids can't wait to get out there and do it. They're inspired. I've seen that hundreds of kids just run to the basketball court and try to make the ball, because it does help you. You make every shot when you put the ball there. The only reason you might miss is because your wrist or your fingers are off a little bit, but every time you put the ball in the invisible diamond, you get the swish. Well, when kids hear the invisible diamond, the listening part of this now, they're inspired to go out and try it. When a coach gives something called intrinsic value, when you tell somebody to put the ball in the invisible diamond, that's intrinsic value to the game. So it's the responsibility of authority to give intrinsic value to inspire listening and obedience. And here's what happens. When the kid goes to the court and shoots the basketball, the shooting is the obedience, and through the net is the blessing. So God's love and the blessings of obedience becomes more complete. Coaches don't just tell kids what to do. I mean, a good coach, a godly coach, he gives inspiring things to kids, which if they do, they are blessed at some point in time. So the blessings of obedience is really a positive quality with blessing involved. I mean, it's a joyful thing. It's also a very assertive thing. When somebody tells you what to do, you want to assert and do it because you're going to be blessed. So it's a promise of God, and then God's love is surely involved in such a idea. So once again, then, God becomes intertwined in basketball. It teaches a coach to give intrinsic value. It teaches players the blessings of obedience. And that obedience is an assertive thing. Beyond that, it teaches a child to tune his ear toward people giving him commands, because there's a chance if somebody good tells something good for a person to do, there's a good chance something good is going to come out of it, namely the blessings of obedience. So there's two ways right there how God is intertwined with basketball, but throughout the book I point to numerous others, but there's the two obvious. The value within invisibility and the blessings of obedience are two real ways that God is intertwined with basketball.
There you have it. People, I told you, man, listen, you're going to want to run on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble. What Phil is embarking upon is profound. The correlation is amazing, and how creative of an approach it is wonderful. We're here on the line again with Phil Trager. Okay, we're discussing his book, God Intertwined with Basketball, available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or his personal site, invisible-diamond.com. Phil, curiosity from myself, man, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing the book? Or if not a highlight, something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you began on the journey?
That's a good question as well. God is an unseen spirit, much like we can't see our breath. And the Holy Spirit works in our soul, our heart, and our mind to create these thoughts. And as I was writing this book, I was amazed and in awe of how the basketball came together with God's presence. And so the intricacy of the book has been very even awing to me, even though I was writing it. Mm-hmm. You know, that really stands out to me. And then the invisible diamond is such a oh my goodness. I mean, I saw a person shoot the ball for 45 minutes from 8 to 10 feet away and missed 3 times.
Wow.
I saw another fellow shoot at the YMCA. He shot a 3-pointer at the center basket, went and got the rebound, shot a 3-pointer to the side basket, turned around, shot back to the center and the other side, 30 or 40 threes in a row, making every shot.
That's incredible.
That's the value of the invisible diamond.
I love it.
When you get used to it, even in quick game, your head can glance at the rim and laser to the invisible diamond with your eye. You can turn and get the ball back, and you flick your wrist and put right where your laser eye was looking and get the swish. The invisible diamond impresses me every time I see it succeed, and it succeeds often.
There you have it. Phil, what's next for you, man? This book is incredible. I can only hope that there's more on the horizon. Talk to our listening audience about what's upcoming.
This book, now rarely is basketball ever presented in written form, but in this book, I start with the tip-off, and then I take the thread of what to do when you have the ball. The other organizational scheme, then, the next book, is aimed at what to do when we don't have the ball. The other 4 or 9 positions on the floor, as well as on defense. So my next book, then, is going to be centered on what to do without the ball. You have picking and cutting, passing, and screen and rolling. You have make the pivot, you either pass, drive, or shoot. You preserve clear outs. There's so many things you do without the ball.
Absolutely.
So that'll be book 2. And while we're speaking of this, Camp Fundamentals, The Invisible Diamond, was copyrighted in 2007. That was my original book. This book is just a derivative, in part, of that book. So I have Camp Fundamentals, The Invisible Diamond. I've got God Intertwined with Basketball 1 and God Intertwined with Basketball 2 in mind to do, And actually, the God Intertwined books are aimed at homeschooling. They have fill in the blanks. They have matching with word definitions. It has a score key, so the answer key in the back. And each of the questions, some are worth free throws, some are worth 2 points, some are slam dunks, some are worth 3 points on the learning chart, and there's even some 4 points. And you compile all this up at the end of the book, and then get your score for the game, for the book. And I intend to do that in the next book also, to put the scoreboard there.
Absolutely. Listen, people. If this interview hasn't moved you, pinch yourself, okay? I don't know what's going on. Again, I'm at the edge of my seat. I'm loving everything that I'm hearing. What he's embarked upon is such an amazing journey. Not only, because I'm an avid basketball player, but also to have that underlying message, right? To have that connection with God, to have that connection with religion, and do it in such a fun, creative way. I'm going to say it for you once more, even though I know I don't have to. Let's just re-impress it for you again. We're here on the line with Phil Trager. We just finished discussing his amazing book, God Intertwined with Basketball, available for purchase once again through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly through his site, invisible-diamond.com. Listen, people, you surely will not be disappointed. A wonderful book to add to your shelf, an even better gift to add to someone else's. Head on over there today and pick up your copies. Let's grow, let's develop, let's educate ourselves. And it starts with this amazing narrative. Phil, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. Such an honor. I truly mean that. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. Have a great day. It was wonderful.